In the smoky twilight of a lavish restaurant, waitresses scurry past a little girl sitting alone, mute, fragile, forgotten. Her big eyes plead silently, but no one sees her. No one but Elena, a struggling sign language teacher moonlighting as a waitress. When she kneels to speak with her hands, the girl's face lights up, and from the shadows her father emerges, Luca Moretti. The cold-eyed, iron-hearted Mafia boss feared across the city. He's watching, and he never allows strangers near his daughter. But something about Elena halts his wrath. Who is this woman who sees what others don't? And what price will she pay for touching the heart of a man no one dares to love? The scent of aged wine and truffle oil hung in the air, thick and luxurious. Elena moved quietly between the velvet-draped tables of La Voluto, balancing a silver tray with practiced grace. Her black dress clung to her like the night, her apron crisp, though her eyes betrayed exhaustion. This wasn't her world. Crystal chandeliers, whispered power, and people who didn't meet her gaze. It was just a second job, one she needed. She passed the corner booth, pausing. There, tucked in shadows, sat a little girl. Pale cheeks, dark curls, a velvet ribbon in her hair. No menu, no food, just her. Alone, hands in her lap, staring at her fingers. A ghost in the room. Not one waiter glanced her way. Elena's steps faltered. Something tightened in her chest. She scanned the room. No one. No guardian, no chaperone. Just a child mute in more ways than one. She knelt slowly beside her, careful not to startle her. "Hi," she signed gently, fingers moving in the air like soft wings. The girl blinked. Then slowly her hands rose. "Hi." Elena smiled. "You sign?" she whispered aloud, astonished. The girl nodded, lips parting, but no sound came. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated. "Sophia." Elena's breath caught. "Beautiful," she murmured. A flicker of light danced in Sophia's eyes, a connection, human, pure. Then everything changed. The room fell still. Conversation dropped like a stone. Forks paused mid-air. Elena felt it before she saw it, a shift in the air, cold as steel. She turned, heart pounding. A man stood behind her, tailored suit, charcoal eyes, a presence that eclipsed everything. Luca Moretti. His gaze didn't waver. He stepped closer, voice low as a blade. "Who told you to speak to my daughter?" The room stood suspended in time. Forks hovered mid-air, wine glasses paused near lips. A tremor of fear rippled beneath the velvet hush. Luca Moretti's voice had fallen like a guillotine, and now every eye was averted. Elena rose slowly, her legs trembling. I'm sorry," she stammered. She looked lonely. "I didn't mean to." A sharp gesture from Luca, and suddenly 2 men in black suits moved, appearing like shadows. One stepped forward, hand brushing the gun beneath his coat. Elena's breath caught in her throat. Sophia's small hand shot out, grabbing her father's sleeve. "No," she signed with urgency, fingers fluttering fast. "She's nice. Don't hurt her." Luca didn't look at his men. His eyes stayed locked on Elena, unreadable. He watched his daughter's hands, then back to the woman who dared speak to her. "Stand down," he said at last, voice cool and precise. The guard stopped. Silence deepened. Then the tension in the room slowly ebbed, conversations restarting in cautious murmurs. Luca tilted his head. "Where did you learn to speak with your hands?" Elena tried to steady her voice. "I teach deaf children. I studied sign language in college. My younger brother couldn't hear." His gaze flickered, just a flicker. "She responded," Elena added softly. "She trusted me. That matters." A long silence passed. Then, surprisingly, Luca's lips curved. Barely. Not quite a smile, more a surrender to something he hadn't expected. "Come to the estate tomorrow," he said. "Be her teacher." Elena blinked. "I have a job. I'll pay 5 times what they do," he cut in. and she hasn't trusted anyone in years. Her mouth opened, then closed. She glanced at Sophia. The girl's eyes were pleading, hopeful. Luca leaned in slightly. "What do you want? Money? Protection?" Elena shook her head. "It's not that. She shouldn't be so alone." A pause. Luca nodded once, crisp and final. "Then we'll expect you at 10. He turned, coat sweeping behind him. The guards followed, and within seconds they were gone. Elena stood there, stunned, pulse racing. Sophia gave her a tiny wave before disappearing through a side door. The room resumed its rhythm, as if nothing had happened, but nothing was the same. The night air was cold as Elena stepped out of the subway and onto her dim street. Her boots echoed down the cracked sidewalk, the moonlight pooling between street lamps. Her thoughts swirled. Of Luca's eyes, black and bottomless. Of the way Sophia had signed so fast, like her little hands were on fire. Of the way fear had turned into something else. A proposal. An invitation. She clutched her bag tighter. It was foolish to even consider it, wasn't it? Rent was due. Her teaching job had cut hours again. And something about Sophia's silence, her loneliness, had gotten under Elena's skin. She exhaled slowly. Trying to ground herself, a sound, footsteps. She paused, turned. Empty street. She walked faster. The footsteps matched. Her heart kicked against her ribs. She turned a corner, quickened her pace, keys ready in hand. Another sound, closer now, not just footsteps. Breathing. She spun. A shadow darted behind a tree. "Elena," a voice whispered from the dark. She froze. The iron gate loomed like the mouth of a beast, swallowing the gravel road as it led to the mansion hidden within the woods. Elena stood before it, clutching her coat tight. A black car idled behind her. Having picked her up from the station without a word, now the gate creaked open with a groan that felt centuries old. The Moretti estate emerged like a shadowed castle. Ivy clung to stone walls. Marble lions guarded the entrance. Silence wrapped the grounds, not peaceful, but watchful. She stepped out of the car. The door shut behind her with a final thud. At the entrance, 2 armed men nodded stiffly, too respectfully, like she was already being mourned. One opened the door. No words. The inside was just as she imagined. Grand. Dark. Cold. A chandelier shimmered like icicles above black marble floors. Every hallway whispered secrets. Then a burst of light. Sophia, waiting in a sunlit parlor with her hands tucked in her lap, a shy smile tugging at her lips. "Hi," Elena said warmly, kneeling to meet her eyes. "Hi," Sophia signed. Her movements were soft but sure. They sat by a glass window, beginning the lesson. Elena brought picture cards, games, gentle laughter. For an hour, the world shrank to just the 2 of them. Sophia opened up slowly, signing her favorite animals, mimicking words, tugging Elena's sleeve when she got one right. But outside the moment, the house breathed. Elena could feel it. Shadows shifted behind drawn curtains. Tinted windows blinked like eyes. Someone was always watching. She looked up and caught a figure on the 2nd floor, tall, still, holding a glass. Luca. He stood alone in his study, staring at a portrait of a beautiful woman, her features familiar. His expression was unreadable, haunted. Then he turned, disappearing into shadow. Elena returned her gaze to Sophia. Later, as she prepared to leave, a guard walked her to the door. He was older, with lines etched deep around his mouth. "Word of advice," he muttered without looking at her. "Don't get too close." She blinked. "To who?" He opened the front door. "You know who. No one survives loving him." The cold hit her like a slap. She stepped outside, trying to shake the warning. The lesson had gone well. Luca hadn't even spoken to her. But his silence was louder than any threat. Before she reached the waiting car, Sophia ran out barefoot, her tiny face tense. "Sophia?" Elena turned, startled. The girl's hands moved fast. "Someone wants to hurt Papa. Please don't tell him." Elena froze, heart lodging in her throat. She stepped closer. "Sophia, who?" she whispered. The girl only looked behind her, then ran back inside without another sign. The rain drizzled against the car windows as Elena arrived at the estate, her chest tight with the weight of what Sophia had signed the day before. She hadn't slept. Every sound in her apartment had felt like footsteps, every creak like a warning. But here she was, again. Inside, the house was quieter than usual. Even the guards seemed more still, their eyes sharper, hands twitching near holsters. Sophia met her in the parlor, curling close to her side, less bubbly than before. Elena gently brushed a curl from the girl's cheek. "Was it a dream?" she whispered. "Or did you really hear something?" Sophia hesitated, then slowly lifted her hands. "Papa was yelling. Then he left the room. I saw the phone on the table. It was still on. I heard a man say, 'We strike soon. She won't see it coming.'" Elena's stomach dropped. "Who's she? Did you hear a name?" Sophia shook her head. "I don't know, but Papa looked angry all night." Elena held her tightly. "You were brave to tell me, but we keep this between us for now, okay?" The girl nodded, but her fingers trembled. Later, Elena wandered past the east wing, eyes scanning the portraits. Her footsteps led her near the garage, and she paused. There, on the cobblestone, was a smear of red. She crouched. Blood, fresh. A gust of wind carried the faint, bitter tang of iron. "Step back!" a voice growled behind her. A guard. His hand twitched toward his weapon. "This area's off limits." I got lost." He didn't believe her, but he let her go. The lesson that day was short. Sophia was distracted, her signs sluggish. Elena's mind swirled. She had to say something. That evening, as she passed Luca's study, she saw him alone, again, with a drink in hand. She knocked. He didn't look up. "I need to ask you something," she began, stepping inside. "Has anyone betrayed you recently?" He turned, face blank. "Why?" "Sophia's afraid. She overheard something on your phone, a voice saying, 'We strike soon.'" His jaw tensed. "And she told you?" "She trusts me." Luca stood slowly, glass in hand. Children hear what they don't understand. It's dangerous. Elena moved closer. "Then tell me, are you in danger?" He took a slow sip, then set the glass down. "I'm always in danger." She watched him. "Let me help her. Let me keep her safe." Luca studied her for a long, heavy moment. "You already are." Then he turned away. That night, Elena returned to her apartment, drained. Her hallway was dim, the flickering bulb outside her door casting ghostly shadows. She opened her mailbox absently and froze. A small, limp bird lay inside, its neck twisted, wings splayed, blood smeared across the envelope beneath it. Her breath caught. She slammed the box shut, backing away, heart pounding. Someone had been here. She didn't sleep. The next morning she arrived early at the estate. Her eyes burned, but she kept her posture firm. She wouldn't let fear rule her. As she crossed the second-floor hallway, she sensed someone behind her. She turned and slammed into a chest. Luca. His eyes were darker than night. He stepped closer, slow, deliberate, his voice low. "Who are you really, Elena?" Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, painting soft gold across the parlor floor. Elena sat cross-legged with Sophia, a small stack of cards between them. They were playing a sign-matching game, Sophia's tiny hands flicking in the air with growing confidence. "You're getting fast," Elena smiled, gently tapping the girl's chin. "Next, colors." Sophia grinned, reaching for the red card. From the hallway, footsteps echoed, measured, deliberate. Luca appeared in the doorway, suit jacket gone, shirt sleeves rolled to his forearms. He said nothing, simply leaned against the frame, arms crossed, watching. Sophia looked up and signed, "Want to play?" Luca blinked. "Me?" "Yes," she signed again, beckoning. He hesitated, then walked over. Slowly, he knelt beside them, his body visibly tense. Elena handed him a card. "We sign the color, then find something in the room that matches it." Luca looked at the blue card, his brows furrowing. "I don't know this one." Elena touched his hand gently. "Like this." She guided his fingers. His hands were rough. Hers lingered a moment too long. He repeated the sign, awkward but willing. Sophia giggled, a soft, clear laugh. Luca froze. His eyes locked on her. The laughter, it broke something open. Elena noticed the way his shoulders stiffened, his face clouded, eyes distant. "Are you all right?" she asked softly. He stood suddenly. "Lesson's over." Later, Elena passed the study and saw him inside, back turned, staring at the fireplace. On the mantel, a portrait, a woman with kind eyes and long, dark hair. Sophia's face mirrored hers. She was beautiful, Elena said gently from the doorway. Luca didn't move. "Her name was Lucia. She was my wife. I'm sorry. She died in my war. A stray bullet during a crossfire I ordered. I buried her the same day I took my oath as Dawn." The silence was thick. "She loved violins," he added, "and peach tea, and the way I used to forget to wear socks." Elena stepped inside, heart aching. Sophia has her smile. Luca exhaled sharply, like the wind had been knocked from him. And her laugh. His voice cracked. Just once. Elena reached for his hand, but he turned away before she could touch him. That night, Elena tossed beneath the sheets. The storm outside had broken loose, rain pounding the windows like fists. Her dreams were vivid. Luca, shirtless, soaked in rain, blood dripping from a wound in his side. He knelt in the mud, clutching something, someone. He was screaming, weeping. She reached for him in the dream, her fingers brushing his soaked hair. "Elena," he whispered. She bolted upright, breath ragged. A sound. A soft creak. The window. It was open. Wind lashed through the curtain. She reached for her phone, but a hand clamped over her mouth. A figure loomed, masked, tall. A blade gleamed in the moonlight, pressed to her throat. "Stay away from Moretti's girl," he hissed, "or next time you won't wake up." The knife was cold. A whisper of death pressed against Elena's throat. Her heart pounded against her ribs, every beat sharper than the next. She couldn't breathe, couldn't scream, couldn't even think. The masked man's breath fanned against her cheek, hot and sour, his grip iron around her jaw. She saw his eyes, empty, merciless. But fear turned to fire. With all the strength she had, Elena twisted her body and drove her elbow back into his ribs. He grunted, loosening his hold for a split second, just enough. She lurched forward, knocking over a lamp. The glass shattered on the floor. She grabbed the heaviest shard and slashed blindly. Pain seared through her arm as he caught her wrist and slammed her back. Her head hit the wall. Dazed, she fought to keep her eyes open. He raised the knife again. A gunshot cracked the air. The man jerked, stumbled, then collapsed at her feet. Blood poured from a single wound in his back. Elena gasped, trembling, eyes wide with shock. Luca stepped into view from the shattered window, his gun still raised, face carved in stone. Rain soaked his white shirt, turning it nearly translucent. His eyes scanned the room, then locked on her. Not a word passed between them. Darkness closed in. When Elena opened her eyes, she was somewhere else. The room smelled of antiseptic and old wood, cream-colored walls, a soft hum of machines. She turned her head with effort and found herself in a medical room inside the Moretti estate. A thick bandage wrapped around her shoulder and every muscle in her body screamed. Luca sat beside her, suit wrinkled, cuff stained with blood. Hers, maybe, or the intruder's. "You're awake," he said, voice like gravel. She winced. Barely. His gaze didn't leave her. He would have killed you. I noticed, she croaked. You followed me? I watched your building after you left. I had a feeling. He looked away. Too late, almost. She swallowed, throat dry. What was he? A hitman? Luca stood, walked to the bar, poured a glass of water. He handed it to her. A message. One meant for me. So I'm the target. He shook his head. Collateral. But now they've made it personal. Elena drank slowly, each swallow steadying her nerves. I should go. This is too much. No. The word was quiet, final. You can't leave, he added, voice softer now. Not yet. Why? Sophia needs you. And... He didn't finish, but his eyes did. They held something raw, something close to breaking. I'm not your responsibility, she whispered. You're not, he said. You're a choice. A silence bloomed between them, heavy and charged. She didn't know what to say. His words curled in her chest like smoke. That night, unable to sleep, Elena wandered the halls of the mansion. Her footsteps were silent on the marble. She found herself outside Luca's office. The door was cracked open. Inside, he stood near the window, bathed in moonlight, his profile half-shadowed. She stepped inside without knocking. You should be resting, he said without turning. I can't. Too much blood? Too many thoughts. He faced her slowly, his face unreadable. You were brave tonight. I was terrified. Fear and bravery live close. She stepped toward him, barely a breath between them now. I keep thinking about that moment, when you came through the window. He looked down at her. I almost didn't make it in time, but you did. Silence again. Then he kissed her. It was sudden, urgent, full of unspoken things. Her fingers clutched his shirt. His hand slipped into her hair. The kiss was fire, and it scorched her down to the bones. Then it ended. He pulled away as if it hurt to stop, eyes full of conflict. Without a word, he turned and disappeared into the hallway, swallowed by the dark. Moments later, a phone rang somewhere deep within the mansion. Voices rose, urgent, male. Elena followed the sound to the study, where Luca stood with a phone pressed to his ear, face tight with fury. She stepped inside, pulse racing. What is it? He lowered the phone slowly. The Romano family just declared war. Her blood ran cold. Why now? His gaze met hers. Because they found my weakness. Her heart sank before the words left his lips. It's Sophia. The dining room was silent except for the ticking of the antique clock on the wall. Elena stood across from Luca, her arms folded, fury barely contained. Sophia sat in the adjacent room, coloring quietly, unaware that a storm was building in the next breath. You have to let me take her somewhere safe, Elena said. A school, a hotel, anywhere away from this house. No, she's a child, Luca. She's my child, he snapped. And I don't run. Elena took a breath, fighting the urge to scream. This isn't running, it's protecting her. He stepped closer, voice low. Running makes us prey, and I don't allow my enemies to hunt me. She saw the fire in his eyes, but underneath it, fear. Not of war, of loss. You think keeping her here is safer? She whispered. You think this house is a fortress? It's not, it's a glass cage. Luca didn't answer. He turned away, jaw clenched. The conversation was over, but Elena wasn't done. That night, she moved into Sophia's room. A mattress was placed beside the child's bed. Elena didn't trust the guards, not after the break-in at her apartment, not after the photo of Sophia had been used to bait an entire war. She began teaching Sophia hand signals for emergencies. Danger, hide, stay quiet, run. Sophia learned quickly, her eyes wide and focused. The girl didn't ask questions. She didn't cry. But her hands trembled when the lights flickered at night. Days passed. Shadows thickened around the estate. Security doubled. The tension was a noose. Then came the explosion. Elena was reading in the parlor when the blast shattered the silence. A deafening roar followed by screams and shouts. The windows rattled. Dust rained from the ceiling. She grabbed Sophia and hit the ground, shielding the girl with her body. The front gate was engulfed in flames. A car, completely destroyed. A warning or a missed attempt. No one knew. Luca was already barking orders, pacing the hallway like a caged lion. His phone rang. He answered sharply. Elena caught the edge of his words as he stalked past. "There's a traitor inside," he growled. Her blood went cold. Later that night, she watched the household carefully. Guards were replaced, routes tightened. But still, something felt off. Too quiet, too easy. Then she noticed the doctor. Dr. Aldo had been with the family for years, trusted, soft-spoken, but now he lingered longer than needed, whispered to guards who walked away looking pale, left rooms when she entered. It was subtle, but Elena saw it. When she voiced her concern to Luca, he shook his head. "Aldo's been with me since I was 17. "Trust can be a blindfold," she replied. "Even family bleeds." He didn't answer. So she followed her gut. The next afternoon, when Sophia was napping, Elena slipped out of the estate. She'd seen Aldo leave earlier, heading into town. She took one of the staff cars and followed at a distance. He parked outside a small cafe on a narrow street. Elena parked a block away and walked. Her coat was pulled tight, hood up. The air was thick with the promise of rain. A few minutes passed. Then a man approached Aldo's table. Stranger, tall, thin, smiling too easily. Elena ducked behind a parked car. She watched Aldo pull something from his coat. A small envelope. He handed it over. The stranger opened it. Inside was a photograph. Even from a distance, Elena recognized the image. Sophia, standing in the garden, sunlight in her hair. Her heart dropped. The man pocketed the photo, shook Aldo's hand, and walked away as if nothing had happened. But Elena stayed frozen in place, her pulse roaring in her ears. The doctor was the traitor. Elena didn't wait. She raced back to the estate, gravel crunching beneath her tires like bones. Her hands trembled as she gripped the wheel, mind flashing with Sophia's face. The photo, the exchange, Aldo's calm, traitorous expression. She burst through the front doors, ignoring the startled guards. "Where's Luca?" she shouted. "In the war room," one replied. She stormed down the hall, heart thudding against her ribs. The door swung open under her hand. Luca stood at the head of a long table, maps and files spread before him. His men turned, but she didn't care. "It's Aldo," she said. "I saw him, with a stranger. He gave him a photo of Sophia." Luca's expression didn't change, but the air in the room shifted, charged, dangerous. "Where?" he asked. Elena told him everything, every detail, the cafe, the man, the envelope. Luca nodded once, then he moved. Orders were barked. Phones rang. Within minutes, the estate stirred like a waking beast. Armed men mounted into black vehicles. Luca vanished into one of them without a glance back. It was hours before he returned. Blood on his collar. Eyes empty. Elena found him outside, standing beneath the balcony in the garden. Moonlight carved shadows across his face. "He begged," Luca said softly. "Said he did it for money." Elena stood beside him, silent. "I knew Aldo since I was a boy," he added. "He fixed my broken arm when I fell off a rooftop. He made Sophia's bottle the night she was born." "You did what you had to do." He looked at her then. "That's the part that never stops hurting." She reached for his hand. "You're not heartless." "Luca." "No," he murmured. "Just hollow." A breeze swept through the hedges, and he closed his eyes. "I held Lucia in my arms when she died," he said, voice low. There was blood everywhere. Her last words were about Sophia. She said, "Make her feel safe." He looked at Elena. "I failed." "No," she said, voice trembling. "You're still fighting. You're still here." He stepped closer, their fingers laced. Then, like something inevitable, he kissed her. This time, it was different. No fire, no war. Just grief meeting comfort. His lips were warm, hesitant. Hers answered with all the fear and ache that had lived inside her since the first moment she saw him. When they pulled apart, his forehead rested against hers. "I don't want to lose you," he whispered. "You won't." But fate had other plans. The tablet on the table nearby lit up with a flashing alert. Luca turned and tapped the screen. A live video feed began. A masked man stood before a darkened room. A child sat tied to a chair, hair covering her face. Then the camera shifted. A voice filtered through, twisted and smug. "Don Moretti," the rival Don said. "You took one of mine. I'm returning the favor." The camera zoomed in on the child. Elena's heart stopped. "We have your daughter." Elena stared at the screen, blood rushing in her ears. The girl in the chair wasn't Sophia. It was Nina, Sophia's best friend, the one who braided her hair during lessons, who gave her a bracelet made of beads and thread. Her face was bruised, lips trembling, but alive. Luca's jaw clenched. His voice was steel. "They want us to panic, to act blindly." "She's just a child," Elena whispered. "They're using her to lure you in." "They think it'll work." "Will it?" He didn't answer. Within the hour, the estate moved like a machine. Guards doubled at every exit. Phones buzzed with orders. A wall map was spread across the dining room table. Red markers dotted along potential ambush points. Luca pulled Elena aside. "You're leaving tonight." She stiffened. "What?" "You'll take Sophia, a secure location, off-grid. You'll stay there until I end this." "No," Elena said. "I'm not running again." "It's not about you running. It's about keeping her safe." Sophia entered just then, eyes narrowing. "You're sending me away," she signed, furious. Luca looked pained. "To protect you." "I'm not a baby," she signed sharply. "I won't leave you." Elena knelt beside her. "Sophia?" "No," her hands moved fast. "I want to help Papa. I want to fight." Luca watched her, stunned into silence. Elena touched Sophia's hands gently. "Then you'll learn how to be his eyes, his ears, but only if you listen to me." They trained in the quiet corners of the estate. Elena taught her silent signals. Hide. Don't move. Get help. They turned it into a game, but every moment felt like borrowed time. Night fell heavy over the Moretti estate. The air buzzed with coming violence. Luca stood in the courtyard, surrounded by men in black, each armed and ready. Shadows stretched long under the floodlights. Elena walked with Sophia to the edge of the hallway. She crouched and cupped the child's face. "You're brave," she whispered. "But even the brave must be careful." Sophia nodded. "Come back," she signed. Elena's throat tightened. She kissed her forehead, breathing in the scent of her hair. Then she turned to Luca. Their eyes met. No words, just understanding. He touched her wrist as she passed, a quiet gesture that said everything. The gates groaned open. A heartbeat later, gunfire cracked through the night. The night erupted in flame and fury. Gunfire cracked through the estate's stone walls like lightning splintering a mountainside. Shouts echoed in every direction. Orders barked, men screaming. The garden was ablaze, smoke curling up to choke the stars. From the hallway, Elena grabbed Sophia's hand and ran. They darted past statues and paintings, past the bloodied bodies of guards who had once nodded at her in quiet respect. At the far end of the east wing, a tall cabinet had been pushed open, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling into the dark. The panic tunnel. Elena shoved the door shut behind them, locking the latch with trembling fingers. The silence in the tunnel was deafening. Sophia clung to her side, her tiny fingers gripping Elena's sleeve with bruising force. Elena knelt, brushing the girl's curls back. "You remember what we practiced?" she whispered. Sophia nodded, wide-eyed. They moved deeper into the corridor, cold stone brushing their skin. At the end, a second chamber waited, steel reinforced, hidden behind crates. Elena pushed them aside and tucked Sophia into the corner, shielding her with her body. Above them, the war raged. And then, they weren't alone. Footsteps. Elena froze. From the shadows, a figure appeared, tall, armed, face half covered by a scarf. He wasn't one of theirs. The intruder raised his gun. Elena lunged. They tumbled to the floor. The weapon clattered. She kicked it away, grabbing for anything, his hair, his coat, his throat. He struck her across the cheek, but she didn't stop. Adrenaline turned fear into fire. She bit his shoulder hard. He roared. Sophia screamed silently. The man reached for a blade on his hip. A shot rang out. Elena felt something hot graze her shoulder, her skin seared with pain. She rolled, placing her body over Sophia's as the man advanced again. Bleeding but wild. Then, another sound. A burst of gunfire. Rapid. Close. The man collapsed beside them, face twisted in shock. Elena looked up. One of Luca's men stood in the tunnel entrance, eyes wide. "We have to go," he barked. "Now." Elena pulled Sophia into her arms and followed. They emerged into chaos. The main hall was a battlefield. Statues lay shattered, curtains burned. Bullet holes riddled the walls. Blood painted the floor like ink spilled from a broken pen. Luca stood at the center, feral, coated in smoke and blood. His shirt was torn, his hand slick around a silver pistol. He moved with lethal grace, dispatching enemies with brutal precision. But there were too many. 3 men surrounded him now, moving in fast. "Papa!" Sophia cried out. Elena ran into the open. "Wait!" the guard yelled, but she ignored him. Luca turned the moment he saw them. His face froze. Elena dropped low, hands signing the signal he taught her. Trap. Left wall. He didn't hesitate. He spun and fired into the shadows just as one of the men emerged from behind a pillar, gun raised, a clean shot to the head, then another. Luca moved like a storm, using the chaos. Elena spotted another figure rising behind him. She grabbed the fallen gun at her feet and fired. The man crumpled. Silence fell. The room held its breath. Then Luca turned and staggered. Blood poured from his side. "Luca!" Elena screamed, running to him. His knees buckled and he dropped the gun. She caught him as he fell, her shoulder screaming from the earlier wound. But she didn't care. His eyes found hers. You did good," he whispered. She held him tighter. "Stay with me." But his eyes fluttered closed. Luca's breaths were shallow, each one a struggle against the pain dragging him toward the dark. Blood loss had stolen the color from his face, but somehow, through the night and into dawn, he lived. Elena never left his side. The estate was quiet now. The war was over, the bodies removed, the halls scrubbed of blood. But something unspoken lingered in the walls. In the air, fragile, like smoke after fire. For days, Luca slept. Elena sat beside him, reading softly or holding his hand. Sophia curled up nearby, sketching pictures of the garden, of them all smiling, safe. When he finally stirred, it was evening. Golden light spilled through the window, pooling over his bandaged side. His eyes opened slowly, struggling to focus. "Elena," he rasped. She leaned closer, brushing his hair back. "You're safe." His fingers twitched in hers. "Sophia?" Whole, brave. She stayed quiet in the tunnels. "She saved us, too." A flicker of emotion crossed his face. Relief, pride, something deeper. He didn't speak again, but he squeezed her hand. In the days that followed, the rhythm changed. Elena moved freely through the estate. Sophia followed her like a shadow, helping bring soup, whispering lullabies through her hands. And when Luca was strong enough to sit up, they wheeled him to the garden. There, beneath the olive tree, he reached for Elena's hand. "I'm not good with words," he murmured, eyes on their joined fingers. She smiled. "Then don't use them." He looked at her. something warm breaking through his guarded expression. They kissed, soft and slow, no fire this time, just warmth, just truth. Elena didn't know when it had happened, when the walls she'd built fell, when she stopped seeing him as the feared Dawn and began seeing the man who would bleed, rage, and burn the world just to keep his daughter safe. She had fallen, not into danger, but into something that felt terrifyingly close to home. One morning, as she poured tea in the sunlit kitchen, small footsteps padded across the floor. Sophia tugged her sleeve. Elena turned. The girl signed first. "Thank you." Then she spoke, voice raw but certain. "Mama." The roses had been cut fresh that morning, deep crimson and white, their petals soaked in perfume and rain. The garden of the Moretti estate, once scorched and bloodied, was now draped in silk and shadows. Lanterns flickered among the vines, candles lined the stone path, and at the center, beneath the old olive tree where peace had first taken root, a small table bore 2 golden bands. Elena stood at Luca's side. Her dress wasn't grand, it was simple, ivory, soft against her skin. But the way Luca looked at her made her feel like royalty. Around them, his inner circle gathered, hardened men with blood on their hands and loyalty carved into their bones. They knelt before her, heads bowed. It was more than respect. It was allegiance. "La Regina," they said. The Queen. Luca offered his hand. Elena took it. The priest spoke softly, words drifting like wind through the leaves. There were no guests, no music, just Sophia, sitting quietly in a white dress beside a small bowl of rose petals, her curls tucked behind her ears, eyes wide with wonder. When the moment came, Sophia stood. She walked forward and took Elena's hand in both of hers. With delicate, trembling fingers, she signed her vows into Elena's palm. Elena blinked back tears, feeling each word as if it were written into her skin. "Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for staying. I love you." Elena kissed the child's hands, holding them tight against her heart. Luca stepped closer, his eyes never leaving hers. He didn't recite vows. He didn't make promises. He simply leaned in and whispered 3 words against her ear, words no one had ever imagined he could say. "You saved us." Her breath hitched, and when he kissed her, gentle, reverent, she felt every shattered piece of her life slide into place. Applause broke out, soft and brief. A few gunshots cracked in celebration from the far edge of the property, tradition in a world still carved from violence. But in that moment, all Elena heard was her heartbeat, steady and new. Later, as twilight cloaked the garden, the 3 of them walked hand in hand, Luca, Elena, Sophia. They moved through the quiet as if trying not to wake something sleeping. Peace, perhaps. The estate glowed behind them, warm and golden. For once, the silence didn't feel like fear. It felt like stillness, like beginning. But peace never lingers long in their world. Inside the house, a phone rang. Luca's stride slowed. He let go of Elena's hand, his jaw tightening as he lifted the receiver. He said nothing at first, just listened. Then his face darkened. His voice dropped. "They're back."